The last image that most Americans have of the Vietnam War is that of a helicopter lifting off of the rooftop of the U.S. Embassy in Saigon. But that is really where my story began. I was born in South Vietnam just 8 months after the fall to the communists in April of 1975. But this is not a story about the Vietnam War. This is a story of what happened next to the more than 1 million people left behind, including my family. Before the Vietnam War, my father's family was very wealthy. They owned a rice milling empire that's probably worth millions of dollars in today's value. And after the fall of Saigon, we lost everything overnight. Our business was confiscated, all the property was taken away. We were evicted from our own house and forced to live in a small farm in the rural Mekong Delta. And it was out there 8 months later that I was born, in a little shack. My family was left behind and we had no way out and nowhere to go. Staying behind, though, was not also an easy thing, because when we stayed behind, my parents saw that there was just no future for their children. With the oppression from the new regime, being forced to live in a little place that had no electricity, no running water, my parents realized that they had to do something about it. By this time, we've heard stories about people who try to leave, and these are the people who left as boat people, where they would sell everything they have, get into these little rickety boats and go out to sea and just hope to make it to one of the neighboring countries at the refugee camps. And so we left on a large boat with about 290 people, and out at sea, we encountered attacks by Thai pirates. They raided our boats, assaulted and robbed us. And this boat actually made it to the beach of Malaysia. And there we hoped to be admitted to the refugee camp. But instead, we were essentially imprisoned on the beach of Malaysia. It was also there that the men were beaten on the beach of Malaysia, including my father and my uncles. We were forced to march on the hot sand for many days, and the conditions were so difficult that my mother actually suffered a miscarriage while on the beach of Malaysia, and there she almost bled to death. We were rejected from the refugee camp, and then eventually our group was then placed into 4 small fishing boats. These are derelict fishing boats that weren't even functioning. And then there, the Malaysian Navy towed us out to sea. Out at sea, they cut the ropes and left us to die. But out at sea, my father had, I think, his first connection with the Creator, because while out there, he looked around and saw his entire family dying of thirst. There was no hope in sight, and it was at that moment that he got on his knees and prayed. And my father shared that almost immediately after he said that prayer, the skies turned dark and rain came down, and we were offered a temporary quench in our thirst. But still, what we needed was more than that, and so we continued to drift, and then eventually this was when we came across World Vision, Operation C-Suite. This is a story about my family, but it's a lot more than that. It's an American story. It could be anybody's story.